So as you can see, today I am going to discuss about the direct palette printing scope, challenges and case studies. So I will discuss means why we have means why I have chosen this particular topic for the discussion, because in this area there is a lot of scope in which you can start your research, whether you are working in the area of biomedical, civil engineering, or in any other domain. If you are working, then this topic could be useful to you. Okay, so that's why I have chosen this particular topic for you. So these are my presentation outlines. So I am starting with the challenges with fused filament fabrication process. So I think some of the speaker might have covered this particular topic, that is fused filament fabrication, because it's a very basic process that is available everywhere, I think in every institute of our country where people are working on additive manufacturing. So first I will be going to discuss about the challenges. What are the different challenges with fused filament fabrication technique? Then I will be going to discuss about the necessity of pilot based AM system. Okay, means why the pilot based systems are required, or how can they replace this triple F technique, and what are the advantages offered by the pilot based AM systems. Then I have some case studies. Okay, some of the case studies I have already means I have worked, so that I'm going to show you. Then some future scope I have covered here, so that will also be discussed with all of you. So with this, now I start my presentation. So before moving into the detail on pilot based AM system, first let me discuss about triple A process. So I think most of you are aware with this triple A process. So here I'm just going to summarize the principle and the part fabrication process of this particular method. So here you can see I have taken one schematic diagram of the triple F. So you can see here we use two rollers, right? Two rollers are there, and then here you can see we feed material in the form of filament. So this black color basically the filament that is fed into the liquefier. This is the liquefier head, or we can we call it the extruder. So we feed this particular material, we feed this material in the filament form with the help of these rollers into this liquefier head. So here you can see we have heating elements, right? So these heating elements, they actually help in raising the temperature of the material. So once the temperature of this material is changed, or the state of material is changed to viscous form, then it is extruded from this nozzle on the bed or the build platform. So you can see the fabrication process basically is the layer by layer, is in the layer by layer manner. Okay, so this is the build platform, and this is the base on which we deposit material in the form of thin wire, and this is liquefier head, and this is heating element, and here we have rollers, right? And here from we are feeding material. So this is means the all about the fused filament fabrication. So here one thing I want to ask from all of you: how we deposit, or how we extrude material from this particular mechanism? Can anyone tell me? Can anyone of you? Could you share your thought on this? How we extrude material, or who is responsible for the extrusion of the material? Among all these components, which component is crucial, or that is responsible means to extrude the material, or how we are means extruding material? So don't write in the chat box, because I cannot see chat box while giving presentation. So you can directly share your thought by just unmuting yourself.
Is it screw, sir?
Where is screw? You can here there is no screw, I think. Where is screw? As per your understanding, you can discuss with me. No, don't worry. Then I will tell you. Okay, one answer is screw. Anyone? Any other from our participants?
It's the rollers.
Rollers. Okay, so roller basically they are useful to feed the material, right? Means because here one thing is important, that is the properties of the material or properties of the filament which we are feeding into this liquefier head. Properties are very, very important, because here in this process, this filament itself, because what we have studied about the extrusion, we need, if we want to extrude some material from the nozzle, right, then we can use screw, right, we can use plunger. So two mechanisms are very, very popular for the extrusion of the polymer material. But here in this case, we don't have any means physical screw, or the piston is in the physical form. Then how we are extruding the material, or how the extrusion of the material is taken place? That's why I wanted to know from your side. So here this filament which we are feeding into the liquefier head, it acts as a filament itself, because here it is in the solid form, right? Because we are feeding it from by using these rollers. Okay, and here, because here we are having heating elements, right, here. So once it enters into the liquefier head opening, its state changes to the viscous form. So what does it mean? The filament which is entering into the liquefier head, it acts as a piston. It acts as a piston. So it creates the pushing force that is required for the extrusion purpose. So indirectly, here we are using a plunger based mechanism to extrude the material, right? Here we don't use any direct form of piston or plunger. Here this filament acts as a plunger or the piston. That's why we are able to extrude material from the nozzle. So this is basically the mechanism of the extrusion in the AAA process. Now let's move to the next slide. I think it is clear to all of you. Is it clear? Okay, if you have any confusion, then you can ask later on after this particular lecture or session. So at the end, I will take some queries from your side. So now what are the challenges? What are the challenges with FFF? So that's what that's why I'm going to discuss the challenges, because some of the challenges might be overcome with the help of direct pellet printing. So that's why it's really important to discuss the different challenges which are associated with the AAA process. So first is the challenge is it requires the formation of filament. So as I told you, we need to feed material in the filament form, right? So if you are working, I mean, or if you want to work with this AAA process, then you need to have material in the filament form. Whether you are working in biomedical, or you are, suppose you are working for on any means domain, then you need to convert the material state or material form into the filament. Then only you can use this AAA process. So this is the first challenge, because, and also precision should be there. If you search the different filament for this particular process, then you will come to know that each and every filament is having a specific diameter, because in market you will find the filament with 1.75 mm diameter or with 3.00 mm diameter, right? And other than this, some mechanical properties are also essential. So that I will discuss what properties should be there. Okay, thermal property and other things are also very, very important. Second is the requirement of materials with a specific mechanical property. Specific mechanical property, because I am emphasizing on the mechanical property, because because these are very, very important for the AFF. Now let's move to the next point, that is very, very interesting, because that is related to the mechanical property. Because what can happen when we go for the highly elastomeric material? Suppose you want to make, or you want to have the parts similar to the rubber, similar to the rubber, you want to have some flexible parts. and let's assume you are having the highly elastomeric material with you, and you want to use this particular material by using this triple F. Then what will happen? Because you all have already means gone through the strength of material, where we have studied about the column strength. So if you compare the rigid polymer and the elastomeric polymer, then always you will find elastomeric materials have low column strength. So what will happen if we try to sprint these elastomeric material through the triple F? So here this is the first case where we are going to feed the material in the filament form. So in the first case we are considering rigid filament, that's why I have written here rigid filament, right? So when we feed this rigid filament through the triple F, then we don't face any problem. We can easily feed it, we can feed it through the rollers, we can easily push this filament into the liquefier head, and we can have extrusion here. There is no problem at all. But what happens when we move to the highly elastomeric material? So here I have taken another case of the flexible filament feeding. So here you can see the consequences. What consequences may be there when we try to feed highly flexible filament through the existing setup of triple F? So see, so here let's assume this is flexible filament and we are trying to push it into the small opening, because here we are having a small opening. So what will happen when we try to push this filament against the small opening of this liquefier head? Here this filament buckling will be observed. Okay, filament buckling will be observed. So that's why we will not be able to extrude material from the nozzle, right? So with this discussion, you can see there is a requirement to have some specific mechanical property within the materials which we are going to use on triple F process. Okay, so why this buckling is basically happening here, or this occurring here? Because of the filament is not able to produce appropriate force for pushing, because in the liquefier head we are having viscous melt, right? Here at this stage we are having viscous melt because due to the presence of heaters. So when we try to use this flexible filament to push this material or this viscous melt, it will not be able to generate that much force, okay, against the nozzle opening. That's why here we will have the buckling. Now let's move to the direct pellet printing. So in some of the cases, because today basically this FDP is based on the organ 3D printing, right? Or I can say in more simplified manner, here basically means people are talking about the biomedical application of 3D printing. So in the biomedical engineering, there may be requirement of flexible materials, there may be requirement of rigid materials, okay, and sometimes both kind of materials may be required, and sometimes the material may be in the jelly form. Hydrogels and other things are there in the market, and silicon printing is nowadays is very popular. So now what are the solutions to print those kind of materials? So that's why I have chosen this particular topic for the discussion. Okay, so I will tell you the benefits of direct pellet printing, and I will highlight its advantages and disadvantages also over the triple F process. Okay, so here you can see a direct pellet printing system. So here you can see you can feed material in the pellet form, right? And you can develop a similar setup to triple F, where you can replace the extruder head. Okay, because in the triple F we use the filament based extruder head. Here you can develop your own, or you can means purchase from market directly, because nowadays some of the commercial platforms are available where you can find these kind of extruder heads, so that means can be purchased directly from the market. Okay, so this is a schematic representation of a direct pellet printing system. So here you can see we are having a positioning system, we are having a pellet based extruder head where we can feed material in the pellet form, we are having a computer. So each and everything is same which we have in the case of triple F. Okay, but here the process mechanism is different, or the material processing will be in different manner. So you can see the advantages with the direct pellet printing. So first advantage is the reduced melt solidification steps, because for filament manufacturing we have to go through the different stages, right? But to prepare the pellets we can eliminate those intermediate stages, and we can reduce the melt solidification steps, right? Then second is the elimination of filament extruder system, because here we will eliminate it from the system. Then next advantage, it supports direct recycling of waste, material, because nowadays it is a very big problem for all of us, because we are creating a lot of waste in the form of, means that is related to the polymers, because polythenes is there in the market and different products are there where people are using polymeric materials. So recycling is one of the means area where people are working, or where people are focusing. So they are trying to reduce the waste material. So with this direct pellet printing, we can directly recycle it, or we can directly use that waste material, and we can convert this waste into the useful products through this direct pellet printing system. Then next is the reduction in the cost of materials. So obviously pellets are available at cheaper rate as compared to the filament. So that is also one of the advantage with the direct pellet printing. Then next is the increase in the number of types of polymer that can be recycled. So here means if I compare it direct with the triple F, then we can have means a good number of materials, because we don't need to convert the material in the filament form. So that's why we get a very good range of material when we work with direct pellet printing system. Okay. There's some other advantage like reduce embodied energy from eliminating a melt cycle. So as I already told you, we reduce melt solidification steps. So obviously we will save energy that is related to the different stages. Then eliminating the time required to manufacture filament. So as I told you in the previous slide, precision is very, very important. If suppose your filament is not having precision, or not having the uniform diameter, then it will be really very difficult for us to process that filament through the triple F. So that's why we need to make filament with a lot of precision. So that requires a lot of means time. Okay, or it takes a lot of time to manufacture filament. So in this case, we don't we do not use the filament form of material. So we can eliminate this time required to manufacture filament. So here in this particular slide, you can see the comparison of pellet and filament based additive manufacturing. So here means I have taken some of the points like cost of extruders, cost of raw materials, then flow rate or material output from the nozzle, then quality of surface finish, varieties of material that can be used with these kind of systems, temperature of extruders, printing of complex designs, reinforcement with fiber, then cost of final product. So here you can see the cost of extruder basically is moderate in both the cases, because initially we have to spend a lot of time to design the pellet extruder, because as I told you, nowadays some pellet extruder are available commercially that can be purchased, but again, to use those extruder heads, we need to design a setup, then only we can go for part fabrication. So pellet extruder, the cost is moderate in both the cases. Then cost of raw materials. So pellets are available at very cheaper rate. You can find the pellet like 100 to 200 rupees per kg. But if I talk about the filament form of the raw material, then it is costly. Like nowadays, some companies are providing the 1 kg filament spool for 600 or 700 rupees, but some of the companies they are offering the 1 kg filament for 5,000 rupees. Okay, it depends on the type of material and type of accuracy. So if you compare the cost of these two, then the pellets are available at cheaper rate. And if you compare both the systems for flow rate, then obviously with the pellet extruder heads, we obtain the higher flow rate as compared to the triple F. Because in the pellet based extruder heads, we can increase the amount of material, right? But here, since filament we are purchasing directly from the market, right? From the market. So here we need to make a system that should be compatible with the commercially available material. So with that commercial system, the output is very low. One part may take almost 24 hours, 48 hours to complete. Then quality of surface finish. Obviously, in this case, lot of research is needed to improve the surface finish and quality of the printed parts. But with triple F, since it is available commercially, so the quality is quite high as compared to the pellet extruder heads. Then temperature of extruder. So in the case of pellet extruder head, we can achieve the high temperature, right? Because we can modify it according to our requirements. But if you see the triple F system, then temperature is comparatively low. Comparatively low. Why? Because very small heater is used there. Some one capsule type heater is available in the market that is generally used for heating purpose. Then printing of complex designs. So complex designs or complex shapes can be printed with more flexibility in the triple F, right? And the pellet extruders are not that much flexible for the printing of complex designs. So in this area, we need to do a lot of research. Reinforcement with fiber. So since we are not manufacturing filament for the process, so here we can reinforce the fiber materials, fibrous material and the other materials easily. So that's why the reinforcement with fiber is very good in the case of pellet extruder, and that is bad in the case of filament extruder. Because with the reinforcement, there are a lot of challenges in the manufacturing of filament. But when we go for the pellets, then it is quite easier for us to mix the pellet and the fiber and the other composite materials, okay, or other filler materials. And here, if you see, if you compare the cost of final product, then with cost of with pellet extruders, it is quite low, and here it is comparably high. Okay. So here one thing which I discussed with you, reinforcement with fibers. Reinforcement with fibers. So in this case, it is very good. But why I am saying it is very good? So I will show you the different stages and we will also see how the direct pellet printing could be useful in the polymer composite preparation. So why I am focusing on the polymer composite? Because in most of the biomedical applications, we need to make parts with good strength. Like suppose, for example, bone. So if you print, suppose you are a doctor or a surgeon, right? So before going for the surgery, you want to practice on the bone prototype. So if that prototype is not having sufficient strength or the matchable strength as we have in the case of bone, then there may be very difficult for the surgeon or the doctor to operate any patient. So in that case, what we can do, we can go for polymer composite prepared part. Okay, right? So in this particular problem, this direct pellet printing can help us. So how we do it? Let me show you the different stages. So here in this particular picture or this diagram, you can see the different stages. Suppose you want to prepare the polymer composite with the help of the AAA process, then these are the different stages. First, we need to have a we need to use a compounding method in which we can add this polymer matrix material and this reinforcement particles together. So different means kind of compounding available, like melt compounding, the solution compounding, right? So after compounding, we need to extrude this compounded material and to get this filament, right? Then we can feed this filament for the part fabrication or for the part printing purpose. So here you can see that we are having printed elements. Then after we can go for analysis, right? So here we can assess mechanical property, we can assess rheological property, we can assess the structural property of the printed parts. Now let's move to the direct pellet printing process. So as I told you, we don't use filament. So what we can get with the direct pellet printing, we can eliminate this stage, filament preparation stage. We can eliminate. What we can do, we can directly go for 3D printing after compounding. So this stage is eliminated. And also we can have in situ composite preparation and 3D printing. How we do it, I will show you in the next slides. Okay, so in situ means preparation of composite, polymer composite, and 3D printing can be done with the direct pellet printing. So that's why here I have shown you these combined stages. These two can be combined together. So what are the possible methods of the processing the pellet based material? So here I have shown you two different diagrams, right? First is the plunger based extrusion, second is the screw based extrusion. So in the very first slides, I discussed about the working principle of AAA process, where we were having the plunger based extrusion mechanism, but in the indirect manner, because there the filament was acting as a plunger itself. There was no direct plunger, was not there actually. Okay, but here if you want to process the pellet form of the material, then we need to go for direct plunger based mechanism or the screw based mechanism. So you all are aware with the screw based mechanism, because this mechanism is very popular, and it is used one of the most established technology, that is the injection molding, right? But now question is, if we are suppose planning to go for direct pellet printing, then which one is more useful? Can you tell me? Can anyone of you tell me which one is more suitable? If suppose material is in the pellet form, we have two different types of material. For example, one material we are having in the gel form, right, or in the gel form, and second is the pellet form. So for these two materials, which kind of process or which kind of mechanism will be suitable? Hmm? Anyone? Suppose you want to have means have the parts of silicon material. Okay. So which mechanism you would prefer? And on the other side, you are having the material in the pellet form. Then which mechanism would be preferred by you? Kindly make this lecture more interactive. Then I think you will enjoy it. Otherwise, it will be boring to you. Anyone? Any one of you? No? Okay. Let me tell you. If you are having the material in the pellet form, then the screw based mechanism will be more suitable. So I will give you the reasons why we can go for the screw based mechanism for the pellet based material. And suppose you are having the material in the gel form, okay, and the jelly form, then it will be very useful to use this plunger based mechanism. So in the biomedical applications, both setup can be useful to you, right? Or both type of setup can be developed, right? So let me give you the some of the points. So here you can see the plunger based systems are simple to operate, because we need to just use this plunger and a cylinder, right? So they are very simple to operate, because we need to move the piston along the means forward direction and the backward direction only for the extrusion purpose. But one problem is there, that is the discontinuous extrusion of material, because because once the plunger reaches at this point, for example, it reaches at the bottom, right? Then we need to fill the cylinder volume with the material. So then again we need to push back this plunger toward this direction. Okay. Then again this volume will be filled with the material. So for large parts, or for the means larger objects, this particular mechanism is ineffective. But if we see the screw driven based system, we can feed material continuously, because here we are having a rotating screw. So screw is rotating continuously. We can feed material with the help of a hopper, right? So we can feed material continuously from the top. So the utilization of screw mechanism with continuous feeding of the pellet material, that is similar to the industrial polymer extruder. So it allow a more precise control over the extrusion process, because we can generate pressure as per requirement, and we can homogenize the molten material, and also it can provide the mixing of two or more different materials together. So that's why I was saying here, these two can be combined if we go for the screw based mechanism. So compounding can be done. Suppose you have two materials, one you are having polymer and second you are having a filler material, right? So this compounding and 3D printing both can be done if you are using the screw based mechanism, right? Because screw is rotating, it is rotating continuously, so it will help us in the mixing, and then it will be extruded. That mixed material, or the material in the mixed form, will be extruded from the nozzle. So we can move this nozzle along the x and y direction. Then once one layer is completed, then we will move the build platform toward the z direction. Right? So in this manner, we can have the composite material, and also we can have the part fabrication. So this particular facility is not available with the triple F, because to use the triple F process, we need to develop the filament form, material in the filament form. So that filament we need to prepare first. But here in situ means composite preparation can be done, and also 3D printing can be done, or additive manufacturing can be done. So here now I have some case studies related to the direct pellet printing. So these case studies I have taken from my research, right? So that I am going to discuss with all of you. So I think these case studies will be quite interesting. So first case study I am going to discuss, that is the in-house development of direct pellet printing enabled AM system. So you can see here under this particular case study, I have published different types of research paper. So you can visit the publisher website to read these articles. Okay. So as I told you, we developed a pellet based additive manufacturing system in-house. So we used the CNC milling machine. So CNC milling machine, you all know about CNC milling, right? So we used this CNC milling machine in more different manner. So you can see to use this CNC milling machine as the additive manufacturing system, we developed a material deposition tool, right? So this material deposition tool was compatible with the CNC milling machine, and we were able to mount and demount it similar to the cutting milling cutter. So you can see this is the spindle of the machine, and this is the tool holder of the machine. So with the help of this tool holder, we develop our own material deposition tool for the material deposition purpose. And hopper can be seen here. So as I discussed about the plunger and screw based mechanisms, so among these two mechanisms, the screw one is more suitable for the direct pellet printing. So that's why we explored the same mechanism here in our case also. So this is the actual image of the setup. So the CNC milling machine, that is the make of this machine is, you can read here. So that is by Okuma basically it is a Japan based manufacturer, right? So we converted this machine into the additive manufacturing system by developing this tool. This is the tool, right? that was developed by us. Here we have some components or various component of the material deposition tool. So you can see this is the assembled view, and here I have shown the different components which we have used in our setup. So hopper is there, CNC tool holder is there, then we designed a unique frame for us, then a screw is there, and then barrel, then nozzle, and a band heater. Okay, so heater in our case, the heater was different if I compare it with the AAA process. So initially we started printing with the help of ABS material. So initially we didn't have any idea about the process because that was very new to us. So initially we faced a lot of challenges, like we had the blockage at the entrance of the barrel, and also whatever material was extruded from the nozzle, that was having a lot of variation in the diameter, and the material degradation due to excess heating, right? Because we were not able to control the temperature. I think someone has written something in the chat box. So can you convey? Sir, can you convey what any queries there?
Yes, Dr. Zahir.
Okay.
Sir, as you shared regarding the plunger base and screw base mechanism, so we have the mechanism, the screw base for noodles itself.
Sir, I will take query at the end of the lecture. I think it would be better. You can note down your query because otherwise I won't be able to complete the lecture. Okay. So I will take all the queries. Don't worry. You can note down all the points. Then I will take your queries one by one. Okay. So here you can see the material degradation was there due to excess heating. So, and also we were not having any particular toolpath software, because that system was new to us, and also we were trying to develop a system that should be compatible with CNC machine, and that should be compatible for additive manufacturing also. So initially we tried to do the manual deposition. So this kind of deposition you can see we were able to do at the initial stage. Then we have we actually faced a lot of challenges initially. Then we incorporated temperature controller and other things in the setup. Then we were able to extrude the material in the more suitable manner. But as I told you, initially we deposited material in manually by giving the manual movement to the extruder head or the deposition tool. So then we thought we should develop the software for the material deposition. So that's why you can see here we developed this particular graphical user interface with the help of MATLAB software, right? So in this software or this particular GUI module, we added the different option like STL import. So STL I'm not going to discuss in detail because it is the standard format that is used by the additive manufacturing people. Okay, so STL import button was there, then slicing button was there, then toolpath was there, right? Then GM codes was there. Actually, toolpath export was very, very important in this case. So you can see here it is a model of a spanner, and all the triangles are visible because in STL what we have the information in the triangle form. So this particular geometry was imported with the help of this button. So after importing, you can see all the triangles are clearly visible in 2D. Okay, so if we wanted to rotate it in 3D space, that option was also available, and we provided this facility. Here you can see the different buttons right here. So save button is there, zoom button is there, zoom out, zoom in, and then the rotate button is there. So suppose if you want to rotate the geometry in this 3D space, then you can do it easily. Okay, and some other parameters like layer thickness, feed rate, screw speed, raster angle, right, road gap, number of cells. So these actually parameters could be controlled by just changing these value, right? That is that was very important for the research purpose. So some other features you can see here: import and processing of STL. So slicing results can be seen here. So all these slices, all the layers are clearly visible here, right? And then toolpath generation. So the contour toolpath is visible, and also the infill toolpath is visible here clearly. Okay, and this model basically is shown to show you the feature of software module, because we were able to rotate it in the 3D space. So in this particular picture you can see all the triangles of a CAD model or of the STL model, right? So many triangles are there, so that can be seen clearly. So different color codings were given to the parts, and then here you can see a code. So that is basically the NC code, right? So NC code, why I'm calling it NC code? Because we use CNC milling machine in our case. So if you look at these codes, then here we are having G00, G01, M04. So generally we use M04 for the spindle or the milling cutter rotation, but we have used the screw based mechanism in our case. So that's why we wanted to rotate a screw for the material extrusion. So that's why we have used this particular code here, right? Then XY, and Z coordinate. So these coordinates are given is for the position change or for the material deposition at different positions. And then M05 for spindle stop. So once this M05 was used, the spindle or the screw stopped at particular point. At the time the deposition was stopped. That was not required basically at some places where we have used this particular code. Then so you can see the different features were used that we use in the case of CNC milling machine or for the milling operations. So those codes actually incorporated here in this software module for the additive manufacturing purpose. So here I have shown some of the cases for which we have developed the different kinds of toolpath, and here we have the pictures of the different parts. Okay, so these parts were printed with the help of the developed material deposition tool. Then after fabricating the parts using ABS material, we extended our study toward the flexible part fabrication. So initially I have discussed one of the challenge of FFF, because when we have the highly flexible material with us or the highly elastomeric material with us, then there are a lot of challenges with FFF. So that's why we wanted to check the feasibility, or we wanted to see the feasibility of our setup for the flexible part fabrication. So currently if you look at the material library of FFF, then there is one material name of that material is TPU, thermoplastic polyurethane. So that material is available with FFF, that is basically used for flexible part fabrication. So we thought we should go for some other different material that should be more flexible than TPU. So we found one material, that is EVA. So this EVA is having various application in various fields. Biomedical is one of them. So you can search about ethylene vinyl acetate. So this material is having the various application in pharmaceutical industry, right? Where people are using this particular material as the drug delivery devices. Okay, so that you can search on internet. You can note down the name EVA, and people are exploring nowadays. But when we explored this material, at that time no one was using for with 3D printing. Okay, so we thought we should go for the EVA, and we should try to fabricate the parts of EVA material, because it was very flexible in nature. And these are the pallets of EVA material that we have procured from the market directly. So initially we try to check its feasibility for the extrusion. So we simply extruded it from the with the help of our setup. So we obtain this kind of filament from the nozzle, right? So it confirms that this particular result confirms that this material can be extruded easily. So we thought we should go for the part fabrication. So here you can see some of the parts which were fabricated with the help of EVA material. And to show you the flexibility of these parts, you can see I have twisted this particular specimen. This is the original specimen that we printed using this setup, and then you can see the manual twisting basically is done to check its flexibility. So number of tons you can see the flexibility of the material, right? So it was really very flexible in nature. We were able to bend it, we were able to twist it. So it confirms the feasibility of our setup for the flexible part fabrication. And we also checked the bonding between the rods, right? So this is basically the contour, and this is the contour, the material along the contour, and this is the infill. So you can see there is no gap visible basically between the rasters. So it confirms the good bonding between the rods. And to check to quantify the elasticity in the specimen, we have gone through the Stursis test result. So Stursis test is one of the tests that is used for to check the residual deformation within the specimens. So initially we deformed the specimen up to a certain percentage, then we release the force. Okay, so up to 16% deformation, the specimen regained their original shapes. So residual deformation basically is almost 1%. Okay, so you can see the parts were very, very flexible in nature, and they were deformed easily. And after deformation, the load was released and they gained their original shape. Then next case study which we have done in this area, that is the flexible electrically conductive composite fabrication. So why we have done this particular study? So here on this case study we have published one paper, Additive Manufacturing of Flexible Electrically Conductive Polymer Composites. So you can have more information by just visiting the website of the publisher. Okay. So the previous attempts, I have gone through the previous attempts, in which I found most of the people have used Triple process for the conductive polymer composites. But all the polymer matrix like HIPS, ABS, they were rigid in the nature. So why they were rigid in the nature? Because of the nature of the Triple process. So I thought I should go for the flexible electrically conductive composite, because this particular composite type parts have a lot of application in different areas like health monitoring, displays, pressure sensors, and flexible circuit fabrications. So you can see I have taken some of the pictures here, right, which are showing the various application of flexible electrically conductive composite. So that's why we have done one study on this. So what we have done, we have taken this EVA as the polymer matrix and graphite as the filler material. So let me show you result directly. Okay, first let me show you how we have prepared this particular material, or how we have printed these flexible electrically conductive parts. So here if you see, then initially we take EVA pellets and the graphite material in the powder form, and also we took the solvent, right? So initially we prepare a solution with the help of this EVA and solvent by using the magnetic stirring method. Then we added these graphite powders into it, and then we have poured this solution on the flat plate. Then we pelletize it into the small pellets, you can see. Then these pellets were fed into the material deposition tool, right? So here two types of compounding actually were used. One was the solution based compounding, and second was the melt compounding. So melt compounding we achieved here, right here, and solution based compounding we have achieved here, right? So we printed these specimens. So these are the results of SEM. Okay, I'm not going in that much detail because I want to show you the. So here EVA spectrum of XRD basically is shown here. So it confirms the presence of EVA and graphite both in the composite material. Then we went for the rheological behavior. So rheological behavior, we have gone through the melt flow rate, right? And we have gone through the diameter, means how the diameter is getting changed with respect to the addition of graphite powder particle into the EVA matrix. So that was very interesting for us because of the additive manufacturing application of this material. So that's why we wanted to know the diameter change with respect to the graphite addition, and also we wanted to see the melt flow rate, because in the additive manufacturing the deposition speed plays very important role, and diameter also plays very important role, because we can decide lot of process parameter based on these two factors. So that's why we have tested the melt flow rate and the diameter both under this rheological testing. So you can see the result. I'm not discussing that much in that much detail. I just want to show you the flexibility of the specimen and the mechanical property and electrical property. So after preparation of the material, the suitable process parameters were identified, and then after these kind of parts were printed or the fabricated for the different applications. So you can see the flexibility. So to show the flexibility, you can see I was not able to twist the specimen because the flexibility was decreased within the specimen, because we have added the graphite particles into that. Kindly mute yourself, please. Hello. Hello.
புரியுது.
I'm getting
அந்த ஆப்பை
disturbance.
டெலிட் பண்றது
wait sir,
நம்ம
Hello.
கையில போயிடுச்சு இல்ல, அதனாலதான் வந்து நான்.
Okay, thank you. So although I was not able to twist these specimens because of the degradation in the flexibility, but I was able to bend them like this. Okay, so it shows although the flexibility was decreased, but specimen we were able to bend them. Okay, then electrical characterization. To check the electrical conductivity of the specimen, we have gone through the 4-pro method. So to explain the electrical property change, we have used this classical percolation theory. So what is this theory? This theory says that the polymer composite can achieve the electrical conductivity when the volume or weight fraction of filler material is above the specified value. So that value basically means that we can achieve the electrical conductivity only when the filler material amount exceed the specified value. Okay, so that value means how we can achieve it. You can see, because here you can see here I have taken this gray color for graphite to show the EVA polymer change, and this black one I have taken to show the graphite particles. So initially what happens when we add the filler material of the graphite particles with in low proportion, then this is the situation. So this graphite particle and this graphite particle both are having some distance, right? They are not making any change in between the EVA matrix chains. Now what happens when we increase the graphite concentration into the polymer matrix or the filler material concentration in the polymer matrix? This is the situation. Now you can see, now they are coming closer, right? But when we keep on adding the filler material into the polymer matrix, this will be the situation. So all the particles will be connected together like this, right? And they will form the network. They will form the network within the polymer matrix. because we know the properties of polymer. They are insulator basically. Okay, they are not the conduct. They are very means bad conductor of electricity. So how we can means make them conductive, or how we can convert them as a into the electric conductive material? By just adding the filler material, and the filler material should have a specified value, or should have proper concentration to make this network. So this network is very, very important. If the filler material is making this network, then only we can make it conductive, otherwise we cannot. So in our result we found, when we added the 30% graphite particle into the EVA matrix, then we have seen a sudden jump into the electrical conductivity value. Okay, so up to 20% we were not having any significant change in the value of the electrical conductivity. So that's why we identify this as the electrical percolation threshold. And as I told you, I was not able to twist the specimens, so we went for the mechanical characterization and the structural analysis. So you can see in the SEM images we found the cracks like this, small holes within the structure. Okay, so these blowholes are there due to the presence of graphite. Okay, so graphite particles formed defects and created voids in the developed composite material. So that's why the flexibility and mechanical property both were decreased, right? Or both means were hampered by the addition of this graphite particle. The next study was based on the melt flow behavior of aluminum filled ABS polymer composite. So this I am not going to discuss because this is quite similar to the EVA and graphite based study. And this is so this is the study in which we have tried to develop the hybrid approach, hybrid direct pellet printing and machining. So you can see the results here. Let me show you. So you can see here we are doing deposition of the material, and here we are removing the material from the top surface to improve its surface finish. So where we can use this kind of setups, we can print parts with the large nozzle, or we can print parts at much higher rate, right? And after that we can apply the machining operation to improve the surface finish. Because obviously when we go for the large nozzle or the nozzle with bigger size, obviously the surface finish of the components will be hampered. So that finish can be improved by the machining operation later on. So again we extended our software for the additive manufacturing and for the subtractive manufacturing. So initially I have shown you the software for additive manufacturing. Later on we extended that software for subtractive manufacturing also, right? So you can see the STL, then slicing, then toolpath generation. Then after we have added one more module into that. So here you can see the different surfaces of the component, and for these surfaces the toolpath was generated for the different surfaces. So different means cases were considered in this to generate the toolpath. So here you can see this is one of the part that was printed, and this is the part after the machining, right? So actual operation you can see in these pictures, and here you can see the improvement in the surface finish. Initially this black one was the surface roughness of the surface, and after performing machining operation with two different approaches like contour approach and raster approach, we achieve this particular roughness within the specimens. So initially it was around 19.495 micron, and later on we achieved 2.068 micron. Then we extended our study toward the large part fabrication, because sometimes we have to, like suppose you want to make a large bone, right? or you want to replicate a bone with large size, in that case you can this technique could be useful. So large part means we have replaced the previous built platform by the large one, and then we try to make some large parts with the help of same setup. So the challenges were different actually, because initially with the small part printing we were having different kinds of challenges, but with the large part fabrication we faced a lot of challenges that were different in nature. Because obviously when we try to make the deposit, when we try to make the layer with large area, obviously the heat transfer rate will be different, right? And warpage will be uh, will be more in the second case. So these kind of challenges we faced, and then we try to print some of the parts. So you can see the warpage here. Initially the first layer was at the build platform, but with respect to time it was warp like this, okay, or warpage was there like this. Then the exploration of Hilbert toolpath pattern using direct palette printing. So exploration of the Hilbert toolpath means sometimes we have to go for different toolpath pattern. Like when we go when we explore the software of 3D printing or additive manufacturing, there are limitations. Limitation may be in terms of toolpath, or limitation may be in terms of the temperature. So different types of limitations are there. So we can explore some other types of toolpath pattern which are not available in the commercial software. So in 2014 or 15 we actually did this particular research. At the time this Hilbert toolpath pattern was not available in the commercial softwares. So that's why we explored, because we know about the raster pattern, okay, raster pattern. So in the raster pattern what we do, we usually deposit material along these lines or along these straight lines like this, okay. So warpage and other things are different in this case. So that's why what we did, we actually explored this toolpath, this one. So in this toolpath you can see we are having very small line segments, right? But in the previous case the line segment size was very big, but in this case since the line segment is very small, so in this case the temperature distribution will be different. So we actually checked the toolpath for the strength, and we found the significant improvement in the tensile strength of the specimen with the Hilbert or the fractal based toolpath. Okay, so here we are having the comparison. Then overall, after exploring the CNC milling machine as the direct palette printing system, we try to develop a low cost solution for direct palette printing. So here you can see, to make the low cost direct palette printing system, we purchased this particular printer directly from the market. So initially we were having a filament based mechanism here. So we replaced this mechanism by developing a palette based extruder mechanism. So you can see here, this was the filament based mechanism, and here we have replaced it with the palette based extruder mechanism. So here you can see the real picture of the extruder head. This was the CAD model that we developed, and this is the actual model, or sorry, actual extruder head that was mounted on the filament based extruder head, right? So let me show you some of the pictures that we have fabricated. So you can see this is the model of a cube. So initially this kind of results we obtained, right? Here this is a simple flat disc, you can see, okay. The rectangular strip basically is there, and here it is a benchmarking model, okay. It is having a cylinder, it is having a cuboid, right? It is having a slant surface, and this is the benchy that is more popular in the 3D printing or additive manufacturing area. So this kind of quality actually we obtain initially and work is still going on in this area, and we are trying to improve the quality of the parts. And some case studies I have found in the literature where people have explored the direct based printing of polylactic acid with universal pellets extruder. So here you can see people have used polylactic acid and other composite material. They have tried through the direct pellet printing system. Okay, it means people are exploring this area because they are realizing the benefits of the pellet extruder head. So that's why they are trying to develop some new materials and some new kind of parts, and this setup basically is available commercially. So here means people have explored the robotic arm. So there you can see this is the robotic arm that is actually being used by the commercial manufacturer. So there you can see the size is too large, right, or too big, and this part is basically printed with the help of polypropylene with 30% short glass fibers. And here you can see the complexity within the design, right? And then I have taken some of the commercially available direct pellet printing systems. So first system is by the Juggerboat 3D, second is by the Titan Robotics Limited, Daisy Design and IT 3D Group, Direct 3D, then Cosine, right? So model names are given here. I will provide you these slides so you can search about these models, why they are what kind of material they are providing and what kind of benefits they are offering. So you can search. And also here I have mentioned the size. So size you can see 915 mm and 1220 mm and 1220 mm. So you can see the size is too good. And so here this particular manufacturer is basically providing the pellet extruder for most, that these extruders are compatible with most of the AAA printers. So if you are really interested to work with the pellet extruder systems, so you can contact this manufacturer or you can visit their website, right? So I have mentioned the website here, daisydesign.com, and it is a Canada based manufacturer, right? But it would be better if you develop your own extruder head, then you will be able to understand its feature and its performance, right? Then you can see another is Spain make Toolmaker NX Pro model, then Italy based. So I don't find any Indian based manufacturer here in the list. So you can come up with new ideas and you can develop your own pellet based extruder head, and you can commercialize it, and you can apply for the patent, and then you can enter into the market. So it is having a lot of scope. Most of the biomedical people will try to I think will purchase this kind of extruder in future because it is having a lot of advantages, right? So considering the recent progress, there is a lot of scope for further development of direct pellet printing. So here combined efforts are required from the material scientists and manufacturing experts. So because as I told you, polymer cannot compete with the actual components. So we need to add something into the polymer matrix, right? I have given you one example of the bone. So bone properties are different. So if you are trying to explore 3D printing for bone application or the bone printing, in that case you have to develop the material that should have the similar properties, right? So this is one of the area which can be explored through the direct pellet printing system, and also new compatible materials are need to be explored. So thank you. This is all from my side. If you have any query or any suggestion, then you can ask. You are most welcome. Now I hand over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dear professors, if you have any doubts, please unmute yourself and feel free to ask, sir.
Dr. Narendra Kumar.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So with respect to this direct pellet printing with the head, right? How well we can do the composite materials? If you have two or three different pellets,
Hmm.
what will be the mixing mechanism to uniform? And then if I have a direct extruder, right? Pellet extruder,
Yeah.
then
Okay,
it will be
okay.
very difficult, right? The
No,
mixing
no.
part and the distribution part.
No, it will be difficult. But tell me one thing:
Yeah,
how we do it with triple F?
triple Fs. So
Yes.
what happens is like I used to have a filament maker. Okay, so where there will be
So
simple,
okay,
you can
okay.
use it as a
So
filament
sir,
and then yeah,
so filament maker itself has a screw, right?
yeah, screw mechanisms is there.
Screw
Yes,
mechanism is there, na?
yeah,
So here, what we are doing, you can think we actually use uh, that screw mechanism for the part fabrication and for the composite preparation. So both things can be done simultaneously, na? Because in filament maker we use screw for the filament preparation.
yes,
But when we talk about the filament preparation through the filament maker, it is really difficult to keep the uniform diameter for you to
okay,
maintain the diameter of the filament. And
okay,
also one more thing I want to add here: if we add something into the polymer matrix, the property I change totally,
it's gonna
because
change.
no,
Yes,
change, like mechanical property might be changed. Like in my case, I have shown you me some of the results. Like brittleness is basically is there.
yes,
So if suppose you are adding something into the polymer matrix, it will become more brittle. So it will
yes,
be really difficult for us to feed that brittle filament through the triple F feeder or through
okay,
the triple F extruder. So in that case, it will be beneficial to use direct pellet printing, because in most of the cases we cannot maintain the diameter of the filament, and also we cannot maintain the mechanical property of the filament. So in that case, we can go for direct pellet printing.
okay.
So here you can do one thing. You can first use the solution-based compounding method, in which you can take solvent and
That
the
is the
polymer
initial.
matrix.
Yeah,
Yes,
that you while
yes,
forming the
yes,
pellets itself, you
yes, 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 yes.
form the composite
Yes.
and
So
then
then
you
after,
do it.
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Okay.
so yes.